my name is Amber Baldet. Yes, until recently, I was the program lead at JP Morgan for their blockchain program, but I am obviously not here in that capacity today. I'm simply here as a human at this point to talk to you a little bit about what I've learned in working with central banks and commercial banks and asset managers, but also startups and corporates and Fortune 100s and cypherpunks and information security professionals, and maybe even some applied cryptographers about what's happening out here in this crazy blockchain space and where we might actually be going in creating something that looks like a pragmatic internet of value, or other words, something that actually functions. So, cool. First thing, there's no such thing as the blockchain, right? Now, the last time that I talked about this, I was at MIT and I was talking to a very business-focused group of people that might not actually know that there's not just a single blockchain. Now, of course, everyone in this room is well aware, and maybe you are more of a maximalist for one or the other. I think maybe we know where people's allegiances lie in this room. But you're at least aware that when someone says, put it on the blockchain, that that's essentially a meaningless question. So when I talk to people who are trying to build business use cases onto some sort of decentralized ledger, the first thing that they say, or there's always someone very smart in the room who will, it's kind of like the so what of enterprise blockchain, is to say, you know, well, does this need to be on the blockchain? And the first question should really be, well, which blockchain are you talking about? Because depending on what you're choosing and how it's architected and what kind of features it supports, you're really going to end up with a very different outcome. So just that basic kind of education. But there are actually lots of blockchains. You probably see some here that you recognize. And there's also a lot of distributed ledgers. Now, I got in a relatively heated discussion with Brian Bellendorf, asked for the last time that I did this, as to why some things were classified in different places. But I'm just going to say that at this point, the things that are classified as distributed ledgers are simply there because that's how they've marketed themselves to this point. And they see that as being a value proposition to them. So it's not specifically about how the Merkle hashes are happening like in their systems. Now, you see Quorum and Axoni and Parity and Photon up there. Those are all kind of enterprise derivatives of the EVM. And so, yes, they're more blockchainy in that sense. But they're not meant to be run in anonymously, usually. So they're meant for known actors. Anyway, moving on. That can get kind of hairy. The point is that they all are asking the same question. Anyone who's developing one of these platforms is confronted with needing to answer questions like, who is allowed to connect to this network? What kind of use cases are we here to support? What's the threat model? How would we upgrade or patch a bug? A lot of these sound like governance questions, right? How will we handle undesirable usage? So in an instance that someone publishes national security secrets to your blockchain, or revenge porn, or anything else, how do you handle that? And whether it's explicitly agreed as a community or not, every one of those ledgers and blockchains that you saw has an answer for that, right? And so that's where a lot of the fundamental differences come in why enterprises and large corporates are being skeptical of what they can do in a public blockchain situation. It's not simply the scalability issue, although that matters. It's not simply the privacy issue, although that certainly matters. But it's also having one governance model for the mainnet. It can be very frightening, as opposed to, say, getting together with a consortium of collectively incentivized actors, wherein you know that if you need to, you can change the rules of the game without needing to, say, fight about it on Twitter for 2 years. So, choices matter.